friends, welcome you all in Rachnaye Rachnakar YouTube channel. Today we have invited Shashank Jalan. He is the author of Foreboding Experiences published by Inkfeather publication. He is also a business student and is also having interest in arts and spirituality. So let's welcome Shashank in Rachnaye Rachnakar YouTube channel. Hello Shashank.
Hello, Preeti. A very good morning to you, and thank you very much for having me on your channel. It's a great pleasure to be here.
Thank you. So Shashank, what inspire you to become an horror author? Horror पे तो movies भी आजकल कम बनने लगी हैं.
Yeah, that's true. That is a question that has been asked to me many times, and I have a quite a small reply to it. Like there are two things. Number one was, of course, boredom, and number two was a love for nature. I think that during the COVID period in 2020, when there was the first lockdown, I was also very free, and people were exploring new things, their hobbies. So at that point in time, I like decided to write. I wrote a short story, and then I read it. I liked it, but gradually things became more and more boring for me. So I decided to embark on a big novel, on a big journey, and like anyone asks me, I say that boredom was the primary reason why I started writing. It was a kind of self entertainment for me, and it was like a very important thing for me to do at that point in time, and like it continued. It's really good. Secondly, I think that the place where I live in, I was in a big house at my hometown. Beautiful nature was all around. So nature also inspired me in some way to write. Natural elements is a very important part of my book. So all there might be some more things like always from your childhood things subconsciously inspire you towards writing. I've been writing for a very long time. I wrote short stories when I was I think that I remember in class fourth or fifth. So it was not a new thing for me, but certainly writing a novel of like close to 1 lakh words was a new thing for me to start.
Wonderful. So can you provide overview of your novel, horror novel, or what is the storyline? What is the main premise of the story? Can you do that?
Certainly, surely I would. First of all, to your last question, I would say that it was really great that you brought up movies. I think that both Hollywood and Bollywood have to catch up a lot in making horror or supernatural movies, especially in India. I think that previously good horror movies were made all over the world in the 60s and 70s. But nowadays, I think that like only a few horror movies, as you also said, are coming. So I think that there's a really good fan base for horror, both writing and movies, and it can be made. There was a movie called The Innocents, which was released in 1961, and it is a spectacular movie. So movies like that, which have a real good atmosphere about horror, about supernatural, is very important, and that is a very important element of writing also, creating atmosphere and visual effects. So my aim in writing this book has always been to create a visual effect, to describe nature, to describe things in such a way that the reader feels that he or she is in the book, or having a first-hand experience. That's what has driven me to write, and that's what has like been my feeling when I was writing. I thought that I was very well immersed or in the scene or in the book. So I think that that has been a very important thing. Talking about the story of the book, it's hard to talk about it in a few sentences or in a few minutes. It's an interconnected
I understand.
story, various stories. If you have read the blurb of your or your viewers have read the blurb, you can see that various stories get connected uh, together. So, but basically, I think that the theme of this story has been exploration of the human mind. As the great Russian author Anton Chekhov said once, that it's the duty of the artist to ask questions and not to answer them. So I think that that has been my journey. I have been like the character also is asking questions. There's self realization in the book, learning about themselves, and I think basically human mind, psychology is an important aspect of the book. Nature is an important aspect of the book. The technique which I used while writing the book is basically ambiguity, which means that not giving the reader the answer, making them think for themselves and understanding what can be the answer, what are the various possibilities, and in the end, no answer is like thrown on you. You can like yourself think and wonder. Was there really a supernatural element over there? Was it all in the mind? And I think that that is very well done by various English authors also. So basically, in the story, there's a young girl called Vanya, who is the main character, and unexpectedly she has to go to her uncle's house, and she does not know her uncle that very much. It is in a new town. She goes over there, and she like roams around in the town, sees the town, and there's her little cousin, her elder brother over there. They talk to her. She meets new people. She learns about the history of the house. That is, the person who built the house was a very mysterious person. He was involved in various things, and he is not alive. And the little brother tells her, and it's really incredible. Once anybody tells you that nobody will tell you this story, but I will, and that is the interest. The little brother tells her that nobody will tell you this story, but only I can tell you this story. And that story is about the previous owner of the house, and he says that his ghost is moving around in the house, and there's a whole story mystery connected to it. Various aspects of spirituality also come in it, various descriptions of rain and a kind of foreboding. Like that's where it gets its name. Foreboding is like the fear of the unknown, fear of happening something. The fear of unknown, as per H.P. Lovecraft, is the strongest fear of humans. So it is a novel of suspense, of supernatural, of mystery. I think that a novel of ambiguity, a novel of emotions, so many various other things. And the character kind of finds out or deducts. It is a story of deduction. What exactly is there a thief over there? Is there some criminal activity going on? Is there supernatural activity going on? And perhaps all of them are going on over there. So I think that that has been the whole crux of the story in
Wonderful.
short.
So, in this story, you must have faced lot of challenges, difficulties, like difficulties in creating plot or suspense or scares or developing threat or scare kind around the story. So, how you have overcome those challenges?
Well, writing a novel certainly of this length is a challenge, and I had to manage it with my studies. I was doing a professional course at that point in time. I was in my college doing my undergrad, so I think that when exams and all came, it was quite difficult to like do. But I think that it has been really worth it. Various challenges which I faced were certainly, as I said, three or four stories got mixed in it. So connecting those ends and not making it loose is very important. That has had been a challenge for me to connect all the threads in the last chapter, especially in the second last chapter. It was when all the people gather and they tell the story, what exactly happened, and it's all clear to the reader. The ambiguity is kind of like answered to a little extent. So that chapter had been the most difficult chapter for me in writing this novel. Apart from that, my various focuses were first of all to create an effect and intellectual experience, like involving nature a lot, as I have already said, creating a visual experience. That was a very great priority for me. So because of that, if you want to create kind of visual experience for your reader, you have to reread the novel many times. You have to like reread the lines and edit it. You have to think over a line. For example, the first paragraph itself took me a day to complete the first paragraph of the first chapter of the book, because I wanted to create that single line that would catch the reader's eye in the first attempt. The last line is incredible. I think, according to me, that had took a lot of time. Apart from that, I think that the writing the blurb is a really difficult task. As I said, making boiling down the story into a few lines. And the most challenging and the most interesting thing is, I think, when a writer chooses the cover of the book. I had been given 30 plus options about the cover, and various designs, various permutations and combinations, and I had to choose in a couple of days. And I think that choosing the cover of the book, which is kind of the identity of the book, because the book, if we like it or not, is judged by its cover first of all, and it's very true. I've seen it, though it shouldn't be, but it is. So that had been a challenge, but it was really interesting experience for me.
So you already spoke that ambiguity is the your writing style. For a writer, for becoming a writer, first you need to read a lot. You need
Correct.
to do research a lot about any topic or any subject. So what are the, or do you have any specific choice or interest in a horror novel, or any writer whom you are more interested in, which later on inspired you to write in horror novel? So what are your research, or what are your story going behind this style of writing?
Well, being a student at this point in time, I think that I have fairly developed a technique or idea to go deep and understand and do a research on the theoretical aspects of whatever I do, be it art or spirituality or writing, for example, or be it my professional area. So I think that in writing also I didn't leave it without any research about the theory. I went on to read about the theory of the ghost story, the classic English ghost story. I think I had this love for classic English ghost stories, but I did not know exactly that it was a very small area in English literature, but a very fertile one. It was a genre in itself, and it's kind of lost nowadays.
Yes.
So the theoretical aspect of English ghost story is something which is kind of important to understand before embarking on a novel of that kind, because English authors have this kind of thing about nature and atmosphere development, which is actually the play with language and using language in such a way that the whole atmosphere, because in a ghost story, if there's no atmosphere around you about, then it will become just a plain simple story. So I think that atmosphere development was something which I learned from the researches. The landscape over there is very important, which you have to write about in your book. The I think that creation of ambiguity, as you also said, is important. The fear of unknown is important, and I think that it hugely depends upon the human mind. What differentiates my style from the ghost stories that are being shown in movies or written nowadays is that I think dealing with the human mind is very important. And externally, in my book, also, you would not see many incidents like a lot of crime or bloodshed. You will not see it. There is no jump scare or I think that instant horror creation done, which is quite easy. I have not done that. That's why it took time for me. I think that psychology or the human mind is something with which I had to work, and that is why various elements about how human mind works or how supernatural events actually happen was something which I studied. I read about various English authors whom I like. I read their personal stories, what motivated and inspired them to write ghost stories. Various authors have certainly left a deep impression on me. Uh,
Like,
being like, for example, M.R. James was an English author who wrote ghost stories. I like his style. I think Emily Bronte wrote Wuthering Heights, which is a classic, and I like that language style. Walter de la Mare, with whom I share my birthday also, is an English author whose writing style is really good, like incredible. The writing is like very psychological, and that is the beauty of writing. And not many authors have inspired me with their material. The material is totally different, but the writing style, certainly some authors have had left a deep impression on me.
well, well done. So, reading the human mind, correct? This is the. So, do you also have feel this frightened or scared while writing your novel?
Well, I think that yes. I think that if the author is not feeling any kind of horror, certainly there's something wrong with the book. Uh, I think that when I was writing certain chapters, certain pages at night, especially all alone, like you don't know the time when you are writing. You get into a flow state, and suddenly you discover that you hadn't had your dinner. It's 2 o'clock in the night, and you are alone. And when that realization comes, when you come into the real world, you certainly kind of see that yes, you were frightened because you were in that novel, you were writing it. Certain areas did frighten me. The first and the foremost was there is a person who climbs up to the girl's room from outside and at night, and she never figures out till the end who this person was. And this was an important part of the mystery, and that has been quite terrifying for me while writing. The scene in the end when the man who was climbing, the criminal, she discovers who he was, and they have a kind of they see each other in the dark of the room, and she is all alone. Is a scene which is quite frightening. The rains and the yellow bulb over there that falls down into pieces, and there are strange noises over there, and she is all alone in dark, and it's all cloudy.
Oh,
That that writing, that part writing it was kind of like the season also was that the weather outside was like that, and that inspired me to, I think, write, and that caused some kind of foreboding in me also. When she goes up all alone along the lane in the dark, that scene, anyone reads it, I think that some kind of fear element is involved in it. But as per characters, if you ask, I think that Mr. Candy, which is a character over here, he is kind of intimidating for me too, and for the people who read the book till now, the people who reviewed the book, some of my friends who read it in the raw form, they all like said that Mr. Candy was kind of an intimidating character for me, because for them it was intimidating. For me it was kind of causing like interest in the book. He is like with a different name, he has come over there, he has secret motives, and so many things happen in the story. So I think that yes, but as a writer, if I frankly say, you are the writer of the story, you know what is going to happen, so you don't feel as fearful as the reader might feel. I think that is, but yeah, certain times subtle fear is there, but not incredibly. I was not incredibly terrified of it. It was not that I cannot sleep in night because I wrote it.
no, no,
Even
no, no.
I could sleep very well.
So, how you are managing your student life and life of an author? Do you feel sometimes exhausted, or I should take break like that?
Uh, I think that though there have been challenges in managing it, but I have never felt exhausted or needing a break while writing. Writing itself for me is a break. I never consider writing as a work, or so that is why I think that writing itself is a kind of refreshment for me. And I think that both these things can be managed. I was kind of not sure if these things can be managed or not, but they can. Certainly, your professional work and your passion can be managed properly. If you really like things, you will always make time for doing those kinds of things. One thing which I've been asked many times is how you read, how much you read. And the answer to that is that I don't read much, I read quite little, and that surprises people, but that's true. Because if I think that whenever I read a page, I want to write 10 pages of my own. That is how it happens. I do listen to various audiobooks or YouTube stories on YouTube, etc. And that has been a substitute to my reading, because without being touched with words or with literature, you cannot write. So that reading time is what I don't get. I wish I could get more time to read, but I don't have that much time to read. But certainly the idea is blocking time for things and doing things when you want to. Like, if I have a good idea, if I want to write something, I just take a hour or two, or I write couple of pages over there. And that's why it all matches in the end. And in the end, it takes a little more time for you to connect all the dots. But yes, that's how a person who is a student and not a professional writer has to manage things. I see it as a passion and not as a profession. So I think that helps for me.
If you'll get options, what is your favorite thing? Like reading a physical book, or reading e-book, or listening audiobook? Which you choose?
Well, I think that first and foremost, I think that audiobook certainly is really good, because you can do other things while
Save times
reading.
also.
Yeah, you the time.
Multitasking.
Correct. So that happens. There are very great readers out there who like have a specific kind of voice, different. They're kind of voice actors, if I rightly say, and that brings the book more to life. In fact, it's a really different experience from reading a book. I don't say that reading a book is like lesser of an experience. It's different. Both these things are different.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that is it. But secondly, I would say physical book. I have a love for physical book. Even if I don't read it, I certainly buy physical books and keep it at my home in my library. At least I am happy that I have some of the books, and I can see them in the morning, and like good titles over there. But like anyone, it depends upon the person. Certainly, many people feel comfortable nowadays with ebooks. Traveling is an issue for people, so ebooks have helped a lot. Some people like to read naturally on ebooks more. So I think that technology always helps, and it certainly depends upon the person.
Yeah, you are right. Absolutely right. So do you have any your can you do you want to share your experience with new or young writers who just started this career, or who just want to become an author one day? Can you share something for them?
Sure, I think that according to my experience, the single piece of advice, if you like, it would be that to complete things at least. First of all, you write. Second, you complete it, because if you have not written anything and it's all in your head, many ideas certainly die over. Then, if you have something on your page, you have something to edit at least, and you can always make it better, you can always improve it. So first of all, write, and secondly, try to complete things, because once you have a single story that is completed, or a single novel that is completed, I think that you have something to work upon. My novel also required a rereading from me, because I had also written for the first time. Even great authors have to reread and edit many
Yes,
times, so
yes.
that is not an issue. You can always improve on your writing. The first draft is not the final draft. So I think that if you get time, first of all, your academic and your professional commitments come after that. If you have time, you can just cut your time on scrolling on your phone if you have inclination for writing. And certainly you can make time. If I can make time, I think that a person can certainly make time. There are brilliant young people over there who are authors who can think. I've met many of them, they're just incredible. But the ideas, I think that many of them don't find time, can't manage time. So I think that giving it a try and not being too hard on yourself, it would be all very easy to do. And writing, I think that is something which you do not become a writer when you wake up in the morning and you say, from today I am an author, I want to write, I'll become a writer. Being a writer is something which has always been with you, which always kind of is from childhood itself. You always have an inclination towards writing. You are always an author. You cannot become a writer. You can become an author when you get published, but you cannot become a writer. It's I think very natural thing. So if you have that natural thing, I think it would be all easy.
Very good. So, any upcoming project or
Yes,
secrets?
I have been working on a second novel. I have written many chapters, not many, but a few chapters I have written. I don't know how long it would be. It is a long project, and it would take a lot of time, very heavy on language and on again on psychology and human personalities, different personalities. It's a story of two friends who meet after a very long time, but I'm not sure. I'm not getting that kind of that kind of time to give it the attention it requires right now. Maybe, hopefully, in future, sometime if God permits, of things fall in place, I may complete it. I would try certainly to do it. And if you ask a long term goal, I wish that this novel is liked by people, and because of the visual aspects in it, if any kind of series or movie or something of that kind is made for this book, I think that that would be a really good thing and doing justice to the visual or aesthetic aspects of the language used in this book.
Well done, शशांक. All the best. आप ऐसे ही लिखते रहिए, continue your writing. So all the best, and thank you so much for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Preeti.